In this video, I will show you how to use the for of loop, which is a new feature introduced in ES6, which is the latest version of JavaScript. The for of loop is a simple and elegant way to loop through arrays and other iterable objects such as strings, maps, sets, and generators. The for of loop is different from the traditional for loop, which uses indexes to access array elements. The for of loop directly accesses the values of the array elements without using indexes or properties. This makes the code more readable and less prone to errors. Now let's see how the for of loop works in action. To use the for of loop, we need to have an array or an iterable object that we want to loop through. For example, let's say we have an array of fruit like this. Now to loop through this array using the for of loop, we can write first our for keyword, then parentheses, and here we can write let fruit, then our of keyword, then the name of the array through which we want to loop. So the name of the array is fruits in our case. Now we can log the value of this fruit variable, and after logging you can see we have each and every element of this fruits array printed in our console. So in this for loop, we declare a variable called fruit, which will hold the value of each array element in each iteration. And we can use any name for this variable. We can use x. Now if we log the value of this x, you can see we have the same result. But here I am using fruit. Then we use this of keyword followed by the name of the array, which is fruits. And this tells the loop to iterate over the values of the fruits array. Now inside of this loop body, we can do whatever we want. For example, here we are printing our fruit into our console. Now as you can see in our browser, this loop prints each fruit in the array one by one in the same order as they appear in our array. And notice that we don't need to use any indexes or properties such as fruit at position I to access the array element. This for of loop does that for us automatically. This makes the code simpler and cleaner. Now if we want to do the same thing with our for loop, we can write for, then let I is equal to 0. Then for our second statement, we can write if I is less than fruits.length, then do I plus plus. And in here we can write console.log, then the name of the array which is fruits, then our square bracket, and here we are going to write this I variable like this. You can see after saving we have the same result. But if we use this for loop to iterate over an array, we need to write more code. As you can see, this for of loop is much easier to write, and also here we don't need to specify the index of our fruits array. Now that you know how to use the for of loop, let's see a real world case example of how it can be useful. Suppose you have an array of product like this and you want to calculate the total price of all the products. Each product in this array is an object that has a name and a price property. So to calculate the total price of all the product, we can use the for of loop to iterate over this array, and we can add the price of each product to a variable that we can call total. Now in order to do this, first we are going to declare a variable let total is equal to 0 like this. Now after this we are going to use our for of loop to iterate through this array. So for then let product of products like this. Now here just to show you I am logging the value of this product variable. You can see in our console we have each and every product which is an object with name and price property. Now to calculate the price we can write total plus equal to product, and as you can see this product is an object and on this object we have our price property. So we can write product dot price to access its price property like this. Now here we are adding the price of each and every product to this total variable. So now if we take a look on our total variable, you can see we have the total price which is 1950. Now here, because we are using for of loop, we don't need to use any indexes that we were using in our traditional for loop, because the for of loop does that for us automatically. And that's all I want to show you in this video. So we learned how to loop through arrays using the for of loop in JavaScript. The for of loop directly accesses the values of the array elements without using indexes or properties. This makes the code more readable and less prone to errors. You also saw a real world case example of how the for loop can be useful for calculating the total price of an array of products. I hope you found this video helpful and informative. If you did, give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more exciting web development tutorials. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Keep coding, keep creating, and I will see you in the next video.